Hello, friends, fans, family, readers. Timothy Trimble here, author of Airborne Undiscovered, Zegan's Adventures in Epsilon. As you can see, I'm recording from the car today. Why? It's quiet, less disruptions. I wanted to do some recording on the campus at Edmonds Community College, but it was pretty busy there today, and I figured maybe what's better than a nice self-contained recording studio than one's own vehicle. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. So I'm parked at a park in a parking lot and doing the video today. So what's going on? Well, book status, which is pretty much about the same as last time. Airborne is being written in Spanish. The last third of the draft is hopefully coming soon. The German, first, I think it's 5 chapters, 6 chapters, I forget. Anyway, the first portion of the German edition of Airborne has been submitted, and I have forwarded that over to a beta reader for review. So we're making progress. I did have someone talk to me about the possibility of doing a Portuguese version. So that would be awesome, because I know a lot of you readers are down in Brazil and you have expressed an interest in seeing a Portuguese version of Airborne. So we're working on that to see what we can do and what's going to work out. Last time I talked about writing scenes, formulating a scene, putting that together. This time I promised you I was going to talk about characters. Presenting characters in your writing is very important. And I'm going to give an example. A couple weeks ago I was in a room at college, at school, and an older gentleman entered the room, and he was just vibrant. The whole room kind of lit up as soon as he came in. He said hello to everyone, asked how everyone was doing. He appeared to be very pleased with his job, which I wasn't sure what that is, but he came in, paid a visit, said hello, asked how people were doing, and then in like under 4 or 5 minutes, he was gone. I don't know the gentleman's name, but he made such an impression when he came into the room and he engaged the people who were there in the room. It made an imprint on me. And so it made me realize as well, one of the things that I try to do in my writing is to present a character in a way that makes that character memorable. And I hope that comes across in my writing as well. I do focus a lot on the characters, who they are, some of their backgrounds. In fact, I have a lot of background information on a character that you don't see in the stories. It's written, it's in my personal notes related to a character, but it helps me to know and to see who that character is as I'm writing about that character. Each character has their own personality types, their own characteristics about who they are. And so the development of a character within a story is very important. And you want to make a good impression when you're writing your character, or from the character's point of view. Now, in creating characters for a story, generally there's two primary types of characters. There's the protagonist and the antagonist. The protagonist, of course, is the lead character, the main character of the story. Sometimes it can be more than one character, but that's the person that you want the reader to be rooting for. You want them to overcome their obstacle and come to a happy conclusion, sometimes, depending on your story. Whereas the antagonist is the enemy, the person or the character that creates a struggle for the protagonist. And sometimes the enemy can be more than one character, or it can be a entity like a business, a company, or the environment. If you've ever read any Jack London stories, the antagonist was the environment. There's one character trying to survive in the environment against all odds. So survival was the theme of those stories, many of those stories. So it's important to have that in your book so that the reader becomes engaged with the character and what they're dealing with. Now, another thing that you want to have for a character is what's called a Achilles heel. If you've ever suffered from an Achilles heel, you know what I'm talking about. An Achilles heel is something that causes pain for the main character. It makes that character real, unless you're writing about, superheroes. But even if you watch many of the Marvel movies or anything dealing with a superhero, that superhero has an Achilles heel as well, something that they're suffering with, or something that's they're guilty about, that they're struggling with. It's important to have an Achilles heel because it helps the reader to relate to that character and know that the character doesn't overcome everything all of the time. There's always some type of a struggle that takes place. When I create a character, personally, I get an image in my mind of what that character looks like. I'm a very visual person, so I visualize who that character is, their personality type, what they look like. And I don't go into all of those details in the story as I'm writing, but for myself, I have to have that visual concept of who a character is. Now, there's characters in Airborne, Karina, Leaf, Suzanne. Those are characters that I have visual images of. And in my background notes, I actually have the names of individuals or personalities that represent to me those characters. I'm not going to reveal any names here, but there are individuals that I know both personally and that I've seen and watched in movies as celebrities, and I like their characteristics, and I kind of personify those characteristics, those traits, those personality traits, and the looks of that individual into the story. Karina, for example, in Airborne, she's pretty. She's got long hair, but personality-wise, she's independent. She's very smart. She's a creative. She's an artist. And she's very passionate about the things that she believes in and the things that she wants to do. And if you've read Airborne, you know that she gets involved in a relationship with the main character, Leaf. And she's very passionate about that relationship. So that is some of the fundamental concepts behind the personality and the character of Karina. And there's an individual that I've kind of modeled that personality type and that character after. And again, I'm not naming names. What is Karina's Achilles heel? Post-traumatic stress syndrome. Some of that occurs based upon what happens in the book, and I'm not going to give it away, but there's a very traumatic situation that occurs that she's involved with, and that creates some stress for her. And anybody who's experienced a difficult situation, whether it's a auto accident, a loss of a dear loved one, family member, some type of a disaster that they experienced, that leaves an imprint on the individual, sometimes for their entire life. And that is something that they struggle with. And Karina has a little bit of that. Even though she's very strong, she's very smart, very intelligent, she does have that issue that she kind of struggles with. And there's also a situation in her far distant past involving her parents that I don't go into detail about in the book, but it's there in the background notes. And that contributes to the Achilles heel that Karina has as a character, as an individual. Now, when creating backgrounds for my characters, how do I do that? Well, it's based on the story, the type of individual, the type of character that they are. But sometimes I just make it up as I go, and if there's something I come up with that I think contributes to the background of that character, I'll put it in my notes. I won't necessarily reveal it in the story itself, but it does go into the notes. Another good trick to do is to have somebody interview you as the character. So say you have a protagonist you've created, you know what that protagonist looks like, you know what their personality type is, but you haven't created their background yet. So have someone interview you. Play the role of that character and have them interview you, and you don't know what kind of questions they're going to ask. They may ask, where did you grow up? What was the environment like there? What school did you go to? What are your favorite things to do? What's your favorite foods? What are the things that you don't like? What irks you? What's your hot button? What makes you mad? What are you passionate about? What are your hobbies? See, when you have somebody ask you those questions, you have to come up with the answers. And in the process, you're creating the background and the personality type for that character. So to kind of lay the groundwork for a scene that describes the personality trait of a character, I'm going to read a scene from Airborne, and it's a scene of Leaf, and he's in a business training meeting at where he works. So see if you can kind of get a taste of what Leaf is like and what he's going through and what his Achilles heel might be just in this one scene. Here we go. Leaf was having a hard time paying attention. The frustration of not being able to fly, combined with the empty hole he felt inside, and the droning monotone of the instructor, was not making it easy to get involved with the presentation. Besides, Leaf thought, this would all be in the online documentation anyway. With over 50 employees in the room, he figured he could get away with working on a picture he had been drawing on his computer tablet. He feared he would someday lose the image he had of the blonde-haired girl from his middle school class who continued to haunt his dreams. The drawing he produced had taken countless hours and multiple false starts with different software packages until he found one that would suit his needs. Karina was never close enough in his dreams to get the image of her face correct, so he relied on what was left from the memory of a single day in homeroom back in middle school. He felt she had looked into him, deep into his soul, when he glanced back at her. The look of her face was haunting and mysterious. Her smile, barely perceptible as her pale blue eyes pierced Leaf, making his heart stop. It was like she was asking, when? Her look both scared and enticed him. Of all the times he had gazed at her in school, this was the one image burned into his very being. He gave up trying to forget. He couldn't. It would be there forever, tormenting him. Long pause for effect. Do you get a taste or a sense of Leaf and who he is and how he feels at that particular moment? You get a taste of some of his background, his concern, some of the passion that he has, just from one scene in Airborne. So that might give you an idea about characters, how I come about generating characters for my stories, creating them. I wanted to give a shout out today to someone I know, Kyla. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. Kyla. Sorry if I got it wrong. You can see her name right here because I'm going to put it there for you. And also some artwork that she's done. She read Airborne a while back, and being an artist, she painted a picture of Karina from the back, the blonde-haired girl, and the picture is just amazing. But she's a fantastic artist. I'm giving her a shout out. She's got a website where she sells some of her artwork. And I just wanted to give her a shout out because she's an amazing person. She's an amazing artist. And it's well worth a look if you ever want to have some artwork done, or if you're interested in any of her existing artwork. Give it a look. Promo Airborne is still getting great reviews. Undiscovered is getting great reviews as well. My short stories. Zegan's Adventures in Epsilon is still available on Amazon as well, in print and as an ebook. So give them a look. I'm currently working on Airstorm, Do You Dream of Falling? And I plan on getting a whole lot of writing done on that during the course of the next month, next 6 weeks or so, especially with the break from school. So thank you for listening. Feel free to post any questions or comments you have below. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hopefully in another month or so I'll have another video for you as well. Thanks for watching. Take care.